Hello students, I am Dr. Neha Tiwari and welcome to my channel Dr. Neha's Anatomy class. This is my first tutorial video and we have started this channel with the intention of helping out all MBBS students, dental students, paramedical students and all students of anatomy and try to make this subject a little easy for explanation. Right? So without wasting much time, let's start with today's topic, which is the anterior triangle of the neck and its subdivisions, out of which I will be dealing with one subdivision, the digastric triangle, in detail. So let's begin. And the anatomy of the anterior triangle, we must get familiar with the anterior region of the neck, right? So this is, let's say, the chin which has been extended. This is the midline and here lies the suprasternal notch of the manubrium sterni. Right? These are the clavicles of both the sides and here will be the mastoid process. So this is the first landmark that we come across. This is the symphysis menti, which we all know is the midpoint fusion where the both halves of mandibles meet. Now right below we have the suprasternal notch of the manubrium sterni, which is the lowermost bony point of the neck. So basically your neck anteriorly extends from the symphysis menti right up to the suprasternal notch. Now at the C3 vertebral level lies this bone known as the hyoid bone, right? This is your hyoid bone. The vertebral level is C3. Now this bone basically wanted to be a loner. That is, it does not articulate with any other bone of the body, but nature didn't let it be. So a lot of ligaments and a whole lot of muscles, your suprahyoid muscles, your infrahyoid muscles, come and attach to this hyoid bone. So this is an important bony landmark that we must remember, right? Now moving on to the most important muscle of this region, which is a key muscle which divides the whole neck into the anterior and the posterior triangles, which is the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Alright, now this muscle has basically two heads of origin. One is your sternal head, which arises from the upper part of the anterior surface of the manubrium sterni. So this is one head. And the other head is the clavicular head, which gives rise to fleshy fibers which join the sternal head and form this fusiform belly, and this muscle goes up for insertion right up to the lateral border of the lateral aspect of the mastoid process, as well as part of the superior nuchal line, the lateral part of the superior nuchal line. So this is the sternocleidomastoid muscle of the left side. Similarly, I will be drawing the sternocleidomastoid muscle of the right side. The clavicular head, the sternal head, and this basically defines our anterior triangle, which is the area lying in between the anterior borders of the two sternocleidomastoid muscles, right? Now, before we move on to the subdivisions of this triangle, let's talk about the structures, the borders of this triangle. So here the midline basically divides this region into the anterior triangles of both the sides. So this would be your right anterior triangle and this one is the left anterior triangle, and it's very easy to understand the boundaries here. This is the base. Now the base is formed, as you can see, by the inferior the border of the mandible, as well as an imaginary line joining the angle of mandible to the mastoid process. Now the apex of this triangle lies below here at the suprasternal notch. The anterior border is formed by this anterior median line and the posterior border is formed by the anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So these are the boundaries of this triangle. Now we move on to the subdivisions of this triangle, for which we will need to look at the lateral view of this of the neck, right? So this is the mandible from the side. This we know is the ramus of mandible, right? Somewhere here is this mastoid process, and in between lies this styloid process. All right, here is the hyoid bone. This is the clavicle and part of the sternum that we can see here, right? So this is the side view of the neck. Now here again we have the sternocleidomastoid muscle. And we should know that this is where the trapezius muscle lies, and hence the sternocleidomastoid is dividing this entire side of the neck into two regions. The whole thing lying in front of it is the anterior triangle, and the thing lying behind it, the region lying behind it, is the posterior triangle. Now, in order to understand further the subdivisions of this triangle, we need to make a note of two other muscles over here, okay? One is the digastric muscle, which I'll be explaining in a little detail here. So this is the anterior belly of digastric. This is the posterior belly of the digastric muscle. And this is another muscle known as the omohyoid, which has a superior belly and an inferior belly. So here we have all the subdivisions of the anterior triangle marked out for you. Number one is this triangle area that you can see. This is the digastric triangle, the boundaries of which are, it is bounded antero-inferiorly by this anterior belly of digastric, posterior-inferiorly by the posterior belly of digastric, and the base is formed by the base of the mandible as well as a line joining, imaginary line joining the angle of mandible to the mastoid process. Next is this triangle known as the carotid triangle, which is the most important triangle of this region because it has the vital blood vessels of the head and neck, that is the common carotid, the external and internal carotid arteries, as well as the internal jugular vein. So this carotid triangle is bounded above and behind by this muscle, by the posterior belly of digastric, below and in front by the superior belly of omohyoid, and the posterior border is formed by the anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscles. The third triangle is this muscular triangle, which we can see is bounded posterior-superiorly by the superior belly of omohyoid and posterior-inferiorly by the anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Anteriorly, the boundary is formed by this anterior median line. Now we also come across another fourth triangle known as the submental triangle. Actually, to be precise, it is only half of the triangle that we can see over here. The other half will be contributed by the other side, and which will complete the submental triangle over here, right? So the submental triangle bounded on both the sides by the anterior bellies of digastric, and the base will be formed by this hyoid bone over here. So having understood these subdivisions, I'll talk about the digastric triangle in detail, but before we go there, I want to tell you a little about the digastric muscle. Okay, it deserves special attention. After all, there is a whole triangle dedicated to it. All right. So this digastric, di means two, gastric means two bellies. It has two bellies. So one is the anterior belly, which arises from the digastric fossa on the lower border of the mandible near the symphysis mentae. Now this belly comes and inserts into an intermediate tendon like this, and now the posterior belly, which arises from the mastoid notch of the temporal bone, it is a longer belly and it is roughly triangular in shape. The fibers of this belly also come and insert onto this intermediate tendon over here, but this intermediate tendon does not like hang freely in air. It is attached to the hyoid bone with an inverted U-shaped sling like this, through which the intermediate tendon passes and is separated from it by a bursa. Now this U-shaped sling is formed by the condensation of the deep cervical fascia. Okay, it is a point to note. Now also, along with this posterior belly, right, at its superior border accompanying it, runs another slender muscle which originates from the posterior surface of the styloid process and goes right up to the hyoid bone like this, and at its insertion it gives a triangular gap through which the tendon of the digastric passes. Alright, so this muscle is the stylohyoid muscle, running from the styloid process right up to the hyoid bone and accompanies the posterior belly of digastric, right? Now, these two bellies also have different sources of embryological origin. That is, the anterior belly arises from the first pharyngeal arch and hence is supplied by the muscle nerve of that arch, that is the mandibular nerve, through the nerve to mylohyoid, right? Now the posterior belly originates from the second pharyngeal arch and hence is supplied by the nerve to that arch, that is the facial nerve. Alright, now as soon as the facial nerve exits from the skull through the stylomastoid foramen, it gives off a branch to this posterior belly of digastric, right? So it is important to note this unique thing about the digastric muscle as well as the thing about this intermediate tendon, right? Alright, so now once again we will define the borders of the digastric triangle. The base is formed by the base of the mandible and an imaginary line joining the angle of mandible to the mastoid process, antero-inferiorly by the anterior belly of digastric and postero-inferiorly by the posterior belly of digastric and the stylohyoid muscle, right? Now we come to the muscles which are forming the floor of this triangle. Now first we have a muscle known as mylohyoid. This is the mylohyoid muscle, the fibers of which on both the sides converge onto this median fibrous raphe and form the floor of the mouth known as the diaphragma oris. So the mylohyoid muscle is the first muscle which is forming the floor of this triangle over here like this. Alright, next you have, or deeper to the mylohyoid, you have another muscle known as the hyoglossus, the fibers of which run vertically downwards like this onto the hyoid bone. So these also form the floor of this triangle, and the deepest fibers belong to the middle constrictor of the pharynx. Okay, so these three muscles from superficial to deep, the mylohyoid, the hyoglossus and the middle constrictor muscle of the pharynx form the floor of this triangle. Alright, now the roof of the triangle is formed by the skin covering this region, the skin followed by the superficial fascia and the platysma, fibers of platysma muscle as well as the superficial nerves. That is, we have two superficial nerves over here. One is the cervical branch of the facial nerve, and the second one is the ascending branch of the transverse cutaneous nerve of the neck, right? Then we have the deep fascia, or the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia, which we must note that splits in this region to enclose the superficial part of the submandibular gland. Okay, so these are the structures forming the roof of the triangle: skin, superficial fascia, platysma muscle, the cutaneous nerves, as well as the deep fascia of the neck. Alright, now we will talk about the contents of this triangle. Alright, now the most important or the conspicuous content of the digastric triangle is the submandibular gland. Hence, this triangle is also called the submandibular triangle, right? Also, it lies below the mandible in this region, hence the submandibular triangle. So in order to study the contents, we divide this triangle into two parts. Alright, now there is a ligament which runs from the styloid process right up to the angle of mandible, known as the stylomandibular ligament. Now this divides this triangle into two parts. The part lying anterior to this is the anterior part, and the part lying posterior to it is the posterior part of the digastric triangle. Alright, now the contents of the anterior part of this triangle are: number one, the superficial part of the submandibular gland. So the submandibular gland lies over here, the superficial part of it, and you have the submandibular group of lymph nodes. Submandibular group of lymph nodes. Now these lymph nodes drain the area of the middle part of the forehead, then the nose as well as the maxillary, ethmoidal and the frontal sinuses, the upper jaw, the teeth and the gums of the upper jaw, and the anterior 2/3 of the tongue except the tip. So a whole lot of areas are drained by the submandibular lymph nodes, and hence any infection in this part of the head and neck will lead to a painful swelling of these nodes and will manifest as inflammation and pain, right? So now apart from the submandibular gland, the submandibular lymph nodes, the other contents of the anterior part are the facial vessels, the facial artery and the facial nerve, also the submental vessels, as well as the nerve to mylohyoid, right? The nerve supplying this muscle known as mylohyoid. Now coming to the posterior part of this triangle. Now the posterior part of this triangle has as a content the lower part of the parotid gland, number one. Secondly, the external carotid artery, right? Then you have the external jugular vein, as well as the styloid process and a few muscles that are attached to the styloid process. We have already seen the stylohyoid muscle, but there are other two muscles which arise from the styloid process, that is the stylopharyngeus and the styloglossus. Alright, so styloid process along with these two muscles are also the content of the posterior part of this triangle. Then along the deepest plane lie the structures that are enclosed in the carotid sheath, that is the internal carotid artery, the glossopharyngeal nerve, the vagus nerve along with the pharyngeal branch of vagus nerve, the spinal accessory nerve, as well as the hypoglossal nerve, which comes right across the anterior part of this triangle as well. Okay, and the deepest structure would be the internal jugular vein. So these are the contents of this posterior triangle, and that almost finishes our tutorial about the digastric triangle. I will be telling you a little schematic diagram I will be showing you, with the help of which you will be able to enumerate the boundaries of all these triangles very simply. That is, suppose we represent the side of the neck using a quadrilateral. So this quadrilateral represents the side of the neck, where this is the base of the mandible, this is the anterior median line, this line represents the clavicle, and this is the trapezius muscle. Okay. Now this diagonal represents the sternocleidomastoid muscle, which divides this whole area into the anterior and the posterior triangles, right? Then we have the hyoid bone over here, and the anterior belly of digastric and the posterior belly of digastric, and also you have the omohyoid muscles, the superior belly and the inferior belly. Now this gives us the boundaries of all the triangles, right? Now the digastric triangle, base of the mandible, anterior belly, posterior belly, the carotid triangle bounded by the posterior belly of digastric, anterior border of sternocleidomastoid and the superior belly of omohyoid, the muscular triangle bounded by the superior belly of omohyoid and the anterior border of sternocleidomastoid, the submental triangle, anterior belly of digastric and base of mandible. Now here are the two subdivisions of the posterior triangle that we can see, which I'll be dealing with in a later on video. But the posterior triangle is divided into a larger occipital and a smaller supraclavicular triangle by this inferior belly of omohyoid, right? So this schematic diagram, like if you learn to draw this, I don't think you will ever forget the boundaries of any of the triangles, and it is a small trick that you can immediately recall the boundaries, sorry. So I hope you liked this video, and it was easy explanation of the digastric triangle. Now this was only part 1 of the anterior triangle. I'll be making further videos on the rest of the triangles in detail, as well as the posterior triangle. So do like, share and subscribe to my channel, and please give me your valuable feedback, and as well as all the topics that you would like to study. Thank you.